A couple more things to think about when we're checking the quality of our source. Number one, determine whether the information is a fact or an opinion or propaganda. The next few ideas really relate to who the author is and whether or not they have an agenda. The difference between a fact and an opinion is huge. A fact is I know versus an opinion, which is I think. Everyone can have an opinion and everyone can understand a fact, right? An opinion is drawn upon by personal experience, personal preferences, whereas a fact does not care about any of those things. A fact is a fact is a fact. Propaganda is this idea of information that has its own purpose. It's trying to persuade, and it heavily sways to one side of the argument. This kind of relates to this idea of bias and conflict of interest, which is another one of our quality checks to look for. Secondly, are there footnotes to show the sources of the facts or quotes? So this kind of also relates to the citations list. Has the author of the source of information that you're looking at backed up the evidence by saying this is where I found it? Thirdly, does the publisher have a bias or conflict of interest? This again relates to the first one. Is the author trying to push an agenda? Are they trying to persuade you to think one way or the other? This is fine when it comes to arguments or opinions, but should not be seen when we look at fact, right? Because bias and conflict of interest lead to facts that are unreliable because information may be missing. It may be framed in a way that makes a fact look one way rather than the other. And then lastly, do the words and phrases play to your emotions or bias the content? Don't forget that you, as the reader of this information, is the audience. And so you are open to being swayed by what is being said. And ultimately, you will use that research within your writing. If the research has its own bias, if it has its own agenda, that agenda will then bleed through into your writing as well. So, a few questions to think about when it comes to sources and quality checks. Number one, where do you commonly find the publication date in a book? This is something that you need to know if you're going to be referencing it, because the date is part of that bibliographic information. Secondly, how do you determine who the audience is for this book? And thirdly, what is a bibliography in the first place? So take some time to think about these questions and answer them to the best of your ability. We will be discussing these answers as we go through the next few slides.